The school hallway was always loud in the mornings. Lockers slammed, sneakers squeaked, and laughter echoed off the tiled floors. But there was one kind of laughter that didn't belong, sharp, mocking, and cruel. It usually started when Ethan Parker walked in. Ethan wasn't the kind of kid who stood out. His hair was a little too long, his clothes always clean but never new, and his backpack looked like it had seen more years than most teachers. He was polite, quiet, and always on time, the kind of student who sat in the back, did his work, and left without anyone noticing. Or at least, that's what he tried to do. But Ryan Taylor noticed him. Ryan was everything Ethan wasn't. Loud, confident, rich. His dad owned a car dealership, and he made sure everyone knew it. He wore the newest sneakers, the kind that cost more than Ethan's whole wardrobe. People followed him, not because they liked him, but because they were afraid of being his next target. And Ethan, he was the easiest target of all. That morning, as Ethan entered the hallway, Ryan spotted him immediately. "Hey, Parker," he called, his grin wide and cruel. "Nice shoes, did your grandma dig them out of the trash again?" Laughter erupted. Ethan froze for a moment, his grip tightening on his backpack strap. He felt that familiar sting crawl up his throat, but he forced himself to breathe. Slowly, he turned, meeting Ryan's smirk with a calm expression. "No, Ryan," he said softly. "I just don't care about things that don't matter." Ryan's friends went quiet for a second, just long enough for Ryan to feel something shift. Then he snorted, "Oh, look at this guy, acting like some philosopher. Newsflash, Parker, nobody cares about your wisdom." He stepped forward, grabbed Ethan's lunch from his hand, and tossed it on the floor. The paper bag burst open, spilling a sandwich, an apple, and a bottle of water across the hallway floor. The laughter came back, louder this time. Ethan crouched down to pick it up, his hands trembling only slightly. He didn't look up. He didn't talk back. He just gathered his food and stood, brushing the dust off his sandwich wrap. "Why don't you ever fight back, huh?" Ryan sneered. Too scared, Ethan finally looked at him. There was no anger in his eyes, just a quiet strength. "Because I don't want to become like you." The words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Ryan blinked. His smirk faltered for a second. He opened his mouth to say something, but before he could, the bell rang. Students began shuffling off to class, whispering to each other. Some looked at Ethan differently now, not as a victim, but as someone they didn't quite understand. Ryan clenched his jaw and stormed off, muttering something under his breath. Ethan walked to class slowly, his head down. But inside, he felt something small but powerful, a spark. He didn't know it yet, but that moment would change everything. By lunch, the rumor had already spread. "Did you hear what Parker said to Ryan?" One girl whispered to another. "He totally shut him down." Ryan hated it. He couldn't stand the thought that people might see him as weak, or worse, that they might respect Ethan. So he doubled down. The next day, he found Ethan sitting alone at lunch, sketching quietly in his notebook. "Still playing artist, huh?" Ryan said, snatching the sketchbook from his hands. "Let's see what kind of masterpiece you've got this time." Ethan stood up, his heart pounding. "Give it back." Ryan flipped through the pages. "Whoa," he said mockingly, "you draw people. That's cute. Oh wait, is this supposed to be your mom? No wonder she looks sad, she had to raise you." The table erupted with laughter again. Ethan felt something twist inside him, shame, anger, maybe both. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the cafeteria staff, Mrs. Dawson, had been watching. She walked over, her eyes cold as steel. "Ryan Taylor," she said sharply. "Give that back, now." Ryan froze. No one ever talked to him like that. Slowly, he handed the sketchbook back. Mrs. Dawson looked at Ethan. "You okay, honey?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, ma'am." She turned back to Ryan. "You know, it's easy to laugh at someone. Takes no courage, but kindness, that takes real strength. Maybe you should try it sometime." The cafeteria went silent. Ryan's face flushed red. He muttered something and walked off. Ethan sat back down, staring at his sketchbook. One of the boys from Ryan's group hesitated, then said quietly, "Hey, man, your drawings are actually really good." Ethan smiled faintly. "Thanks." That night, he stayed up late thinking about everything. He wasn't angry at Ryan, not really. He felt sorry for him. People who hurt others usually carried pain of their own. So the next day, Ethan made a decision. He started volunteering at the art club after school, helping younger students paint and draw. When people asked why he spent so much time there, he just said, because sometimes the world gets better when we make something beautiful. The art club began to grow, and to everyone's surprise, even some of Ryan's friends joined. They said it was relaxing, that it made them feel different. Ethan never mentioned Ryan again, and for a while, neither did anyone else. But something about the hallway felt lighter now. Then one afternoon, as Ethan was packing up, he noticed someone lingering near the door. It was Ryan. He looked nervous. "Hey," Ryan muttered, not meeting Ethan's eyes. I saw that mural you painted near the gym." "It's good, thanks," Ethan said, cautiously. Ryan shifted awkwardly. "Listen, I was a jerk. To you. A big one." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't know why I did all that stuff. Guess I thought it made me look strong." Ethan looked at him for a long moment, then smiled gently. "It takes more strength to admit you were wrong." Ryan looked up, surprised. "You're not mad." Ethan shook his head. "No, you just needed someone to remind you who you are." For the first time, Ryan smiled, a real one, not the cruel grin he wore before. "You're weird, Parker." "Yeah," Ethan said with a small laugh. "But maybe that's okay." As Ryan left, Ethan looked at his sketchbook, at all the faces he had drawn, all the moments he had captured. He realized that kindness didn't always mean staying silent. Sometimes, it meant standing strong without striking back. And sometimes, it meant showing people that no matter how cruel the world could be, kindness could hit harder than hate ever would. The hallway that had once echoed with laughter now carried something different, a quiet respect. And for the first time in a long while, Ethan didn't feel invisible. He felt powerful, but not because he had fought back with fists, because he had fought back with heart. Weeks passed, and something subtle yet powerful began to shift at Westbrook High. The once toxic laughter that echoed through the halls began to fade, replaced by something new, warmth. It all started after Ryan's apology. No one could believe it at first. The same Ryan Taylor who used to mock everyone in sight was now sitting quietly in the art club after school, sketching beside Ethan. The two rarely talked about the past, but their silence carried an understanding that didn't need words. One Thursday afternoon, while painting a large mural on the wall near the gym, Ethan noticed Ryan struggling to mix the right shade of blue. He smiled faintly. "Try adding just a drop of white. Makes it calmer." Ryan hesitated, then followed the advice. The color softened instantly. "Huh," he said, surprised. "Guess calm is something I could use more of." Ethan chuckled. "We all could." For the first time, the two of them laughed together, not the cruel, shallow kind of laughter that once haunted the hallways, but the kind that comes when walls finally come down. But the story didn't end there. Because kindness, once it starts moving, doesn't stop. A month later, Westbrook High was preparing for its annual Hope Week, a week dedicated to community service and positivity. Every year, students gave speeches, ran charity drives, and made pledges to make their school a better place. But that year, something different happened. When the principal asked for student volunteers to speak, Ryan raised his hand. The entire auditorium went quiet. Teachers looked at each other in surprise. Ethan, sitting near the back, watched silently, unsure what was about to happen. Ryan stepped onto the stage, hands trembling slightly. "Most of you know me," he began. "And, yeah, you probably don't think great things when you hear my name." A few students shifted awkwardly in their seats. Ryan took a deep breath. "I used to think being strong meant making people feel small. I thought if I laughed the loudest, I'd never have to feel weak." He looked down for a moment, his voice thickening. "But then I met someone who showed me that real strength doesn't come from putting people down. It comes from lifting them up. It comes from kindness." The crowd was silent. Even the ones who once followed him couldn't meet his eyes. Ryan's voice softened. "So, if I've ever hurt you, if I made you feel like you didn't belong, I'm sorry. I mean it." He turned slightly toward the back of the room, where Ethan sat. "And to the person who taught me what real courage looks like, thank you." For a long moment, the auditorium was still. Then, one person started clapping. Another joined, and then the whole room erupted into applause, not the kind for a popular athlete or a performer, but for something far greater, change. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Not from pride, but from something deeper, gratitude. After that day, kindness became more than just a word at Westbrook. It became contagious. A group of students started Kindness Fridays, where everyone wrote anonymous notes of encouragement to leave in lockers. The cafeteria created a shared table, a place where no one sat alone. Even the principal got involved, starting a small scholarship fund for students who volunteered in community programs. And at the center of it all were Ethan and Ryan, two boys who had once stood on opposite sides of cruelty, now working side by side. Ethan noticed the difference most during art club. There were more students now, kids who used to avoid each other laughing together, painting side by side. He'd see shy freshmen smiling for the first time, older students helping them mix colors, everyone learning that a simple act of care could change everything. Sometimes, while everyone was busy painting, Ethan would step back, wipe his hands, and just watch. He saw laughter, teamwork, friendship, the kind he used to think didn't exist anymore. He realized then that maybe that's what kindness really was, not one big act that changes the world in a moment, but a series of small, gentle choices that slowly rebuild it. One chilly Friday afternoon, as the sun began to set over the schoolyard, Ryan found Ethan sitting under the big oak tree near the football field. He was sketching again, the same old notebook that once caused him so much humiliation now filled with drawings that told stories of hope. Ryan sat down beside him. "You still draw every day?" Ethan smiled. "Yeah, it helps me think." Ryan looked out over the field. "You know, I used to think kindness was weakness. Like if you didn't fight back, you'd lose." Ethan closed his sketchbook. "It's the opposite. Kindness is the only thing that fights without hurting." Ryan nodded slowly. "Guess that's why it hit me so hard." Ethan laughed softly. "Yeah, kindness can punch harder than any fist." They sat there for a while in comfortable silence. The wind carried the faint sounds of laughter from the art room, students staying late, still painting the mural that had become the school's symbol of unity. Ryan turned to Ethan again. "You ever think about what you're gonna do after school? You could be an artist. Or a teacher." Ethan smiled. "Maybe both. I just want to keep creating things that make people feel something good." Ryan grinned. "You will. Trust me." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You, giving pep talks now? That's new." Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, well, maybe kindness really is contagious." They both laughed, the kind of laughter that heals instead of hurts. Years later, when Ethan stood in front of a classroom as an art teacher, he still thought about that hallway. He thought about the sandwich on the floor, the laughter, the pain, and how everything changed because he chose kindness over revenge. On the wall of his classroom hung a framed picture of that mural from high school, a bright explosion of color that read, "Kindness hits back stronger." Every time a new student walked in, nervous and unsure, Ethan would smile and tell them, "You don't have to be loud to be strong. Sometimes the quietest hearts make the loudest difference." One afternoon, as he was cleaning up after class, he got a message from Ryan, now a youth counselor. "Hey Parker, just helped a kid today who was getting bullied. Told him about us. Thought you'd like to know." Ethan smiled, staring out the window at the fading sunlight. He typed back, "Proud of you, man. Keep hitting back, the kind way." Ryan replied with a single emoji, a fist bump followed by a heart. Ethan laughed, closing his phone. Kindness had come full circle. The boy who was once laughed at had taught others to see beyond cruelty. The bully who once ruled with fear now led with compassion. And in that simple exchange between two changed souls, the truth shone brighter than ever. Kindness doesn't just change the world, it rebuilds it, one heart at a time.